Welcome back to Bounce Forward with me, Tiff Hall. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm recording this podcast, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to elders past and present. Today on Bounce Forward, I have the amazing Jessie Stephens. She is an author, executive editor at Mamamia, as well as co-hosting news and pop culture podcasts, Mamamia Out Loud and comedy podcast Cancelled. You may have also seen Jessie grace your TV screens on the ABC and as a regular host of The Project on Channel 10. Jessie is also a mum to Luna, and I can't wait to talk to her on Bounce Forward. Here is Jessie now. So, Jessie, you're a twin, and I was really interested to hear from you because my sister and I had our babies 4 weeks apart, right? And you and Claire had babies not too different in age. So what is that experience like going through motherhood together as a twin?
It has been one of the greatest gifts of this period of my life. 4 weeks, I'm sort of jealous, but then I also think you would have been in the trenches at very much the same time. Claire and I, our girls are about 5 months apart.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so it's been amazing to have, in one way, I was the luckier one because I got Claire for 5 months and she was amazing. She would come over and she just wouldn't leave. She'd come over at 9 o'clock in the morning and it would get to like 2 o'clock and my husband would say, Claire, you probably need to go home. Like you can't just live in our house because there's a baby here now. But she couldn't. She was so overcome with how much she loved Luna and Luna loved her. And then her baby came along and I was very worried that I wouldn't be able to give her the same time that she'd been able to give me because I had a 5-month-old. But I'm really glad that I've been able to help in terms of being a few steps ahead. So everything from breastfeeding, even though everyone's journey is very different, but sleeping and all the trinkets, and every time Luna grows out of something or she's moved on from a toy, there are just bags of stuff at Claire's doorstep. And her knowing, having someone just ahead of her, I think has been really good. But as you would know, it's indescribable the love that you feel for your niece or nephew. That's been so surprising to just have Matilda, and I'm like, oh wow, I love her as if she were my own.
Yes.
She's just the best thing in the world.
Isn't that beautiful? Is there any sibling rivalry with it? Because I find with my sister, we've both got girls, Margot and Vader, and they're both so close in age. It's like, well, Margot's talking, Vader's not. And, Vader's crawling, Margot wasn't. And it was just always comparing. Do you have any of that?
There's a little bit of that. And I think that you naturally worry when it's your first because you go, oh, should they have hit this milestone? So Claire will always go back and she's like, Luna was crawling at this age and Matilda hasn't started crawling. But then on the other hand, I look at Luna is very small. She's always been small, slow to put on weight. And I look at Matilda and that's never been an issue for her.
Yes.
And I'm like, it took Luna so many more months to get to that size. So you just learn, I suppose, that every baby, we've got identical genetics. So these girls are technically half siblings and they are so different. And you just go, you get the baby you get in terms of temperament, in terms of milestones. And that's actually a really beautiful thing to learn, that it's not that you're doing anything wrong if your baby walks a bit later. It's just that they're going, why would I walk? Crawling's easier. And I'm like, yeah, I regret ever learning to walk, actually.
Yes. Yes. Isn't it such a stress when your baby's not putting on weight? Like my baby was the same, and we were at the maternal health nurse every week for a weigh-in, and Vader just was difficult with the breastfeeding and wasn't feeding, and I was trying with the breastfeeding, but she was losing weight. So it is such a stress, isn't it? Isn't the early stage just a bit of a nightmare?
I'm so glad to hear you say that because we were the same. I was breastfeeding every 2 hours, even overnight, and she was throwing. She was a bit of a refluxy baby, but they said to me, no, it's not as much as you think. It looks more than it is. Blah blah blah. And we would go after a week of me breastfeeding 10, 11, 12 times a day, round the clock, and I would go, okay, she has to have put on weight. And 1 week I remember going and she'd lost 30 grams. And I was going, I have never worked so hard at something and failed so much.
Yeah, yeah.
And I still don't, like, she was a bit slower. I was a small baby. But that to me, and eventually a doctor said it's, failure to thrive because she's not put on the amount of weight she should have. That was the hardest bit of the whole journey. The effect, you feel like you have one job, which is to feed your baby, and you feel like you're failing at it. And it was, I am glad to be out of that period, I must say.
I really do think that mothers need so much support in that beginning 6 weeks. It's just so hard, isn't it? I'm very tormented by it.
I went in and, I've worked at a women's media company for a lot of years. I've spoken to so many people, as you would have, about breastfeeding, and I have no judgment for anyone who does formula. So I thought if the breastfeeding doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's fine. What I didn't expect was that you go to a lactation consultant and I would say, look, breastfeeding doesn't appear to be working. She's not putting on weight. Do I do formula? And it was like the prescription was always going to be the same, which is breastfeed harder, breastfeed harder, breastfeed harder. And I was like, it's not working for us. Who can I go to who's going to give me – I think I ended up seeing a pediatrician who was just a lot more pragmatic and went, give her a bottle and see if it helps.
Yeah, give her
and
a
I
bottle.
needed permission.
I was power pumping and, I would pump before a feed and then pump after a feed and then feeding ridiculous like you were. And the pumping was really doing my mental health in. So I just thought I lasted a couple of months, but I just couldn't. But with my son, I exclusively breastfed him for over 12 months. So how does it not work? Like, why is this not working? I just beat myself up. But like you said, every baby is different. They come to you and you just get what you get, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And my sister had issues with breastfeeding that were totally different. But the pumping thing was, and some people are just, enjoy it or it doesn't bother them too much. But I found it like dehumanizing, and I would sit there on I felt as though when I was pumping, I couldn't hold my baby. And so I would just be sitting there staring at a wall going, I feel like a cow.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it?
This isn't working. And, women have been breastfeeding since the beginning of time, and this is as good as we've got in terms of a pump. Like, can we not do better than this?
I know. The pumps are terrible. Oh, you're so right. They need to invent something. Yeah, they need to look into that whole feeding thing. Oh. So, Jessie, I have to ask you about your relationship with health and fitness because, I'm a personal trainer. I love it. What type of exercise do you enjoy? Are you a very sporty person or,
I really enjoy exercise. So I've been doing reformer Pilates for probably 7 or 8 years.
Amazing.
Which I think I enjoy it because I don't get bored. It's very, from balance to changing it all up. There's a lot of stimulation, whereas I couldn't go for a run. I would get very bored. During pregnancy, actually, I also swam a lot, which I really enjoyed.
Oh, that's great. That would have felt amazing.
Oh, felt so good.
No gravity.
Yes, and even I got a lot of rib and back pain, and so the movement of getting my shoulders and that rotation I think was really good. But since having Luna, I, was thinking about, all right, if I want to get pregnant again, what would be – I would like to be really, really strong. And even though reformer Pilates is great, I thought I'd like to lift weights. Like I'd like to I can't remember what it's called, but behind your shoulder blades, what's that? Your posture muscles.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get that really strong. I want to get my glutes really strong so that, pregnancy to me, it was carrying around this extra weight and it takes
yes.
its
And you're
toll
so
on
right. Through
joints.
the thoracic, you sort of hunch because of the feeding and the carrying. So you need to open all that up.
Exactly. So it's like, and even your boobs get massive. So you just get this I felt as though I was hunched over for the second half of my pregnancy. So I started going to the gym. I can commit to 3 times a week, which I'm very proud of with a 1-year-old. So I do a lot of arms, which you need when you're carrying them around, and that back bit.
Yep. Lats.
Yeah, exactly. And I have felt such a difference. I feel really strong.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Has your relationship with exercise changed much since you've had Luna?
Massively.
Your body or how you feel in your own body?
Massively. When I I signed up to a new gym and they had a wellness consult with a PT. And I was like, I want to see a female, because in the past I've seen a male PT who I felt like was telling me what I needed, but I wanted to tell her why I was going to the gym. And I said, I am not here to make my glutes look a certain way. I'm not here to get a 6-pack. I'm not here to lose weight. I'm here to make sure I'm not in pain. I don't want to have back pain. And for functional reasons, I want to be able to pick up my baby. I want to be able to go for long walks. I want to be able to get down on the floor and be able to do that for the next 40 years of my life. And I felt like she really understood what I was trying to say. And since doing that, it's like how I feel in my body and feeling like I'm switching the right muscles on and I'm not getting the sore hips and the sore back, which you kind of get inevitably when you're doing so much picking up.
Yeah. Oh, that is so great. Oh, my goodness. Okay, I'm going to pause things right there and I'm going to come back with a part 2 very, very soon. Thanks so much for listening to Bounce Forward. I love having your company, so please DM me on Instagram at tiffhall_xo and let me know all the questions you'd love me to cover. Don't forget to rate and review me on your podcast app. Speak soon. Happy days.